Let me ask you something personal. Have you ever looked in the mirror at the lines around your eyes, the strength in your hands, and thought I've made it this far? But how well am I really doing? Now imagine this. You're between 70 and 80 years old. You wake up on your own, no assistance, no nurse. You prepare your own breakfast, maybe take a walk, read the paper, call a friend. You're steady on your feet, sharp in your thinking, and still in control of your own money, time, and choices. That, my friend, is no small thing. That is rare. In fact, research from the National Institute on Aging shows that by the time many people reach their late 70s, they begin losing ground in ways that are easy to miss until they're no longer optional. Physical health starts to slip. Cognitive clarity becomes a concern. Finances grow tight, and many people sadly begin to feel like life is happening to them, not with them. But what if I told you that if you are between 70 and 80 and you can still do just 8 specific things, 8 things most people take for granted, you are in a league of your own. You are what I call a rare gem, and your future, it's wide open. Because these 8 abilities quietly predict something profound: who will still be walking freely at 90, who will still be mentally clear at 95, and who might just live to 100, not just longer but stronger. I'm Dr. James Emerson, and I've spent more than 35 years helping older adults stay active, independent, and respected through every decade of life. Today, I want to take you on a journey through wisdom, through science, and through real stories about what it really means to age well. We're going to break down 8 critical things that, if you can still do them in your 70s, set you apart from the majority of your peers. And more importantly, I'm going to show you how to protect them, how to rebuild them if you've lost a few, and how to make sure you keep thriving on your own terms for as long as possible. Because here's the truth. Longevity isn't just about genetics. It's about habits, mindset, and knowing what to pay attention to before it's too late. Now, before we dive in, I ask just one small thing. If you find this topic valuable, please click the like button, share it with a friend or sibling who's also navigating this chapter of life, and don't forget to subscribe for weekly evidence-based health tips designed specifically for older Americans. You deserve real knowledge, not hype, not fear, not shallow advice. You've earned that. Now grab a warm drink, get comfortable, and let's begin with the first and perhaps most important sign of rare resilience. After 70, you can still take care of yourself. Why physical independence matters more than ever. After 70, let's start with something that's easy to overlook. The simple act of brushing your own teeth, standing up from your favorite chair without anyone's help, making a pot of coffee in the morning, or taking a short walk to the mailbox. If you're over 70 and can still do these things on your own, you are doing better than you may think. According to data from the National Council on Aging, more than 40% of Americans over age 75 need some assistance with at least one activity of daily living. And yet many of those same people didn't go from total independence to dependence overnight. It happened gradually: a small slip in balance, a missed step on the stairs, a shoulder that hurts too much to reach above the shelf, and slowly the ability to do basic things: cook, clean, bathe, dress, walk, begins to fade. That's why if you still have these abilities in your 70s, you're not just doing okay, you're thriving. And here's why it matters. Maintaining your physical independence protects more than just your body. It protects your freedom, your mental health, your relationships, and your dignity. It allows you to continue being an active participant in your own life rather than a passive observer of it. You don't need to rely on others for everything. You're not waiting on someone to bring you meals, help you out of bed, or take you to the bathroom. That kind of independence is powerful, And according to research from Harvard Health Publishing, it's one of the biggest predictors of emotional well-being and longevity after age 70. So how do you protect it? The answer isn't fancy gyms or extreme diets. It's about consistency awareness and small daily habits that support balance, strength, flexibility, and coordination. Let me share with you a real story. There's a woman named Evelyn I met in Minnesota. She's 78 years old, lives alone, and still takes care of her entire house inside and out. When I asked her how she stayed so independent, she said this: "I never stopped moving. I take care of what I can. If I can't do it the way I used to, I find another way." Every morning she stretches in her kitchen. Every afternoon she walks laps in the hallway of her apartment building, rain or shine. She told me, "It's not about being strong, it's about refusing to sit still and fade away." And there's science behind that. The Mayo Clinic notes that even moderate daily movement, things like walking, climbing stairs, sweeping, or gardening, can dramatically reduce your risk of muscle loss, falls, and chronic disease. They call it functional fitness. It's not about lifting heavy weights or running marathons. It's about being able to do the things that matter to you every single day. So if you can still do the following: bathe yourself, cook your own food, use the restroom without help, climb a flight of stairs, get in and out of bed on your own, shop for groceries, or run basic errands, then yes, you are a rare gem, because millions of people can't. But here's the good news. Even if you're starting to struggle in some of those areas, there's still time. There are gentle strength programs designed just for older adults, balance exercises that can be done sitting down, mobility routines that take less than 10 minutes a day. You don't need to do it all at once. You just need to do a little every day with purpose. Think of your body like a garden. If you stop tending to it even for a week, it starts to fade. But if you water it, protect it from weeds, and nourish it, it blooms again. Now, I'm going to be honest, one of the biggest risks to your independence isn't weakness, it's fear. I've had patients say, "I'm afraid to walk without my cane, I might fall." I stopped cooking after I dropped a pan and burned myself. I don't go outside anymore, it's too risky. And while those fears are valid, they can become self-fulfilling. The less you move, the less you can move. The less you try, the more you lose. That's why the National Institute on Aging encourages what they call assisted independence. Use tools that help you stay free: canes, grab bars, shower chairs, not because you're giving up, but because they let you keep doing things on your own. Independence doesn't mean doing everything alone. It means doing what you can do safely and confidently. Let me give you a practical suggestion. Choose one small thing every day that keeps your body in motion. Stretch your arms above your head while watching the news. Do 10 slow squats while brushing your teeth. Practice standing up from a chair without using your hands. Over time, these little things add up. They build strength. They restore confidence. They protect your independence. And that is something worth fighting for. If you're 70, 80, and can still live without daily assistance, you are not just lucky. You are committed. You've invested in your body over time, and it's paying off. Coming up next, we're going to talk about something that might be even more important than your muscles: your mind, because staying sharp, clear, and aware in your 70s and 80s, that's a different kind of strength entirely, and it just might save your finances, your relationships, and your peace of mind. Let's keep going. Your mind is still sharp, protecting cognitive clarity. After 70, mental sharpness. It's one of those things we don't fully appreciate until we begin to feel it slipping. You walk into a room and forget why. You struggle to remember a name that was once second nature. Or maybe you repeat yourself in conversation and only realize it later. Let me say this clearly. Aging does not mean becoming confused. Memory lapses do not automatically mean dementia, and most importantly, losing your mental edge is not inevitable. In fact, according to Harvard Health Publishing, many forms of age-related memory loss are not signs of serious disease at all. They're often linked to lifestyle habits, sleep, stress medications, or lack of stimulation. So if you're in your 70s or 80s and you still feel mentally sharp, able to make decisions, solve problems, remember your appointments, and sense when something isn't right, you're not just functioning well. You are thriving in a way that deserves attention, because cognitive health is what helps you protect every other part of your life. Your safety, your money, your relationships, your independence. When your mind is clear, you can advocate for yourself. You can say no when something doesn't feel right. You can see through scams, manipulation, and emotional traps that might otherwise cost you dearly. And sadly, this is where many older adults are most vulnerable. The AARP reports that elder fraud is on the rise, costing seniors over $3 billion annually in the U.S. alone. And the saddest part, the victims are not unintelligent. They are good, trusting people. People who love their families, who want connection, and who don't want to seem rude when a friendly voice offers them a great deal. It often starts small. A letter promising you've won a prize, but you need to send in a processing fee. A phone call from someone pretending to be your grandson in trouble. A free seminar offering health screenings and lunch followed by high-pressure sales tactics for unproven supplements. These traps aren't new, but if your mind is still sharp, if you can ask questions, spot red flags, and pause before reacting, you can protect yourself and your family from devastating losses. Let me share a story. A retired mechanic named Gerald, age 75, lived on the same street as my aunt in Ohio. Smart man, good with his hands, loved crossword puzzles. One day he received a phone call saying he had been selected to win a free cruise, but he needed to provide his credit card to verify identity. He hung up. But the next day, the same caller reached out and used a different script. "Hi, Grandpa. It's me. I'm in trouble in Mexico." This time, Gerald paused. Instead of reacting emotionally, he asked, "Which one of my grandsons?" The voice hesitated. Gerald hung up again and called his real grandson who was safe at home. That's what mental sharpness does. It gives you a moment to assess, to think critically, to protect what matters. So how do you keep that sharpness? It's not just about doing Sudoku or word searches, although those help. It's about creating a lifestyle that supports brain health on every level. Here's what the Cleveland Clinic recommends. Sleep. Your brain does most of its memory processing and repair while you sleep. Aim for 7 to 8 hours per night. If you're waking frequently or feeling unrested, talk to your doctor. Sleep apnea, pain, or medication side effects could be the cause. Nutrition. Your brain loves omega-3s, leafy greens, berries, and healthy fats. Avoid excess sugar and processed foods. The Mind Diet, a blend of the DASH and Mediterranean diets, has been shown to slow cognitive decline. Movement. Exercise improves blood flow to the brain. Even light walking boosts mood and memory. It's not about pushing yourself, it's about staying active regularly. Social connection. Loneliness is a risk factor for cognitive decline. Staying in touch with friends, joining clubs, attending classes, or even video chatting with grandkids can make a huge difference. Mental challenge. Learn something new. Take a free online course. Practice a new language. Read books that make you think. Technology doesn't need to be intimidating. There are senior-focused classes from AARP and Senior Planet that teach you how to use your smartphone, avoid online scams, and find reliable information online. One of my patients, Beverly, age 81, learned to use Google Maps, Zoom, and PayPal all in 1 month because her grandson encouraged her to try. She said, "I thought my mind was too old, but I just needed a little help getting started." That's the truth. You're not too old to be sharp. You're not too old to learn. And you're not too old to stay in control, but you do need to be intentional, because cognitive decline doesn't scream. It whispers. It starts with forgetting appointments, then missing bills, then needing someone to take over your financial accounts. The earlier you pay attention, the more power you retain. If you're still reading books, solving problems, planning your day, and making wise decisions, you are stronger than most. And if you feel your mind slipping, don't panic. Start small. Try keeping a journal, play memory games, limit alcohol, and most importantly, stay engaged. Your brain is like a muscle. Use it and it stays strong. Ignore it and it fades. Let me leave you with this thought. Wisdom isn't about remembering every little thing. It's about seeing clearly what matters, what's true, and what needs to be done. If your mind is still your own, that's a gift. Treasure it, protect it, and use it every single day. Coming up next, we're going to talk about another kind of security. Your financial independence, because after 70, money is more than just numbers, it's freedom, peace, and self-respect. You can manage your finances. Why money? After 70 is about dignity, not just dollars. At 75, Helen didn't consider herself wealthy. She lived in a modest condo outside Phoenix, drove a used car, and clipped coupons out of habit. But every time her children offered to help with bills, she gently declined. Not because she was too proud, but because she valued her independence. Knowing I can still manage my own money, she told me, makes me feel like I'm still me. And that right there is the heart of this chapter. If you are in your 70s or 80s and still in control of your finances, still paying your own bills, making your own decisions, and living within your means, you are doing something deeply powerful. You are preserving your dignity. Because after 70, money isn't just about survival. It's about self-respect. It's about freedom. It's about not becoming a burden or being made to feel like one. Let's be honest, no one wants to be the parent who has to ask their children for grocery money. No one wants to feel like they're in the way. And no one wants to argue over whether they can afford their medications or their heating bill. That's why financial stability, no matter how simple, is one of the most empowering things an older adult can maintain. So let's talk about what that looks like. The National Council on Aging outlines several key signs of financial independence in later life. You're able to pay your recurring bills like rent, utilities, and insurance on time. You understand your sources of income, pension, Social Security, retirement funds. You have access to emergency savings for unexpected expenses. You make decisions about purchases based on your needs, not pressure. You are not being exploited, coerced, or tricked into giving away money. Now let's be clear. You don't have to be rich to be financially independent. You just need to be informed, intentional, and protected. Let's take a closer look at those three principles. First, be informed. If you know how much you spend each month, where your money comes from, and what's in your bank account, you are already ahead of many. Tools like monthly budgeting sheets, online banking apps, or even a notebook can help you stay in control. Organizations like AARP and the National Institute on Aging offer free financial literacy guides designed specifically for seniors. And there are services like Benefits Checkup from NCOA that help you identify government programs, food assistance, energy help, or medical aid you might qualify for. Next, be intentional. This means living within your means. It means understanding that just because you can afford something doesn't mean you should, especially if you're trying to stretch a fixed income over an unknown number of years. It's okay to say no to fancy gifts. It's okay to simplify. It's okay to downsize if that helps you avoid debt and stress. In fact, many older Americans are embracing what's called the intentional retirement movement. It's about less stuff, more meaning, less spending, more purpose, and the freedom to choose how you live, not just how you pay. Now, finally, be protected. Sadly, elder financial abuse is more common than many realize. It doesn't always come from strangers. Sometimes it's a caregiver, sometimes even a family member. You have the right to refuse to co-sign a loan, say no to borrowing money from your savings, decline to give out personal financial information even to relatives, ask for a second opinion before making large financial decisions, and if you ever feel pressured, unsafe, or unsure, talk to someone you trust. You can contact Adult Protective Services, local senior centers, or financial advisors certified in elder care. One of the best tools you can give yourself: a durable power of attorney, someone you choose, someone you trust to step in only when you can't. That's not giving up control. That's planning for control. Now let me share another story. Robert, a retired bus driver in Virginia, told me this: "I'm not wealthy, but I've got what I need. A roof, food, a little for the grandkids, and nobody's telling me what to do with my money." That's the point. When you can manage your finances, you maintain your ability to make choices, to say yes to what matters, to say no to what doesn't, to help others if you choose not because you're guilted into it. And let's be honest, when older adults are financially secure, even modestly, the entire family dynamic shifts. Conversations feel lighter, your children worry less, and you get to show up as a source of strength, not stress. If you're not quite there, if you're struggling to keep up with inflation, medication costs, or rising utility bills, please don't feel ashamed. You are not alone. Thousands of seniors are dealing with these same challenges. There is help. Local community centers, food banks, Medicare advisors, nonprofit housing counselors, they exist for people just like you. It's never too late to get support, and it's never weak to ask for help that protects your independence in the long run. But if you are in your 70s or 80s and still managing your financial life, no matter how simple or humble, it is worth celebrating. Because financial independence means one thing above all else: you're still in the driver's seat of your own life. And that, my friend, is a beautiful place to be. Next up, we'll look at something money can't buy but can save: relationships. The ability to communicate well with your adult children. Because harmony, especially across generations, doesn't just happen. It takes wisdom, humility, and knowing when to speak and when to listen. Let's keep going. You can still communicate well with your children. How healthy dialogue preserves respect across generations. There's a silent moment many parents of adult children know too well. It happens at the dinner table or during a phone call. You say something, maybe a story from the past or a gentle opinion, and you catch that look on your child's face. A slight eye roll. A polite smile that doesn't quite reach the eyes. Or worse, silence. You can feel it in your bones. They've stopped listening. And you wonder, when did our conversation stop feeling natural? If you're between 70 and 80 and still able to communicate openly and respectfully with your children, you're doing something many older adults struggle with. You're maintaining connection. And that's no small thing, because communication after 70 isn't just about words. It's about trust, timing, and knowing how to navigate the emotional terrain of family life without losing your voice or your dignity. Now let's be clear. You and your children grew up in different times. What was common sense to you might feel old-fashioned to them. What they see as boundaries, you might experience as distance. And what you call sharing wisdom, they sometimes interpret as nagging. It's not that they don't love you, It's that communication styles change. But the good news is your ability to adapt, listen, and speak with intention can keep those bridges strong. Let's begin with the basics. What does healthy communication look like between older parents and adult children? According to the AARP and National Institute on Aging Strong, intergenerational communication typically includes active listening without interrupting, asking questions instead of giving lectures, respecting boundaries, emotional, physical, and technological offering opinions only when they're welcomed, expressing love, not guilt, and above all, knowing that the goal is not to be right but to stay connected. Let me share a story. Marjorie, age 76, has 3 adult children, each living in a different state. She told me they don't call as much as I'd like, but when they do, I listen. I don't just talk. That keeps the door open. Marjorie learned that when she stopped trying to correct their choices and started showing curiosity about their lives, the calls got longer and the conversations went deeper. She told me something I've never forgotten. They don't need me to fix their lives. They need to know I'm rooting for them. That's wisdom. And it's rare, because many older adults fall into the trap of what I call parenting from the past. They still try to protect, instruct, or even control. And while the intention is love, the result can feel like pressure. That's where things start to break down. So how do you shift? You start by recognizing this simple truth. Your role has changed, but your value hasn't. You are still a pillar in your family. You are still worthy of love, attention, and respect. But respect grows stronger when it's mutual. Let's talk about boundaries. Your children may not want to talk about politics. They may make parenting decisions you don't agree with. They may not visit as often as you hoped, and yes, it can hurt. But one of the greatest gifts you can give them and yourself is grace. Grace to grow at their own pace. Grace to disagree without disconnection. Grace to know that even if they seem distant, they still need your quiet strength in their lives. Here are a few communication strategies that have helped the older adults I work with. Use I statements, not you accusations. Instead of saying you never visit, try I miss you and love our time together. Ask before giving advice. Say, would you like my opinion instead of assuming they want it? Honor their independence just as you hope they honor yours. Being treated like an adult, even by your own child, is an act of respect both ways. Share your stories, but keep them short and meaningful. Reliving every detail of 1973 may lose their attention. But one powerful memory tied to a life lesson sticks. And most importantly, don't compete with them for who's right. Compassion wins over correction every time. Now there's another layer here we must acknowledge. Many older adults feel like their children have emotionally pulled away. They feel unneeded, unheard, sometimes even invisible. If that's been your experience, I want you to hear this. You are not alone, and it's not necessarily your fault. Modern life is busy, noisy, and fragmented. Young families are stretched. Technology has replaced many forms of face-to-face contact, and cultural shifts have left many older adults feeling sidelined. But you don't have to disappear. Instead, find new ways to connect. Text your grandkids short messages they can read and reply to. Send voice notes. Offer to share one skill, maybe cooking, sewing, or family history, that can be your legacy. And when they come to you, welcome them with curiosity, not criticism. Every interaction you have is a chance to build trust, to be a calm harbor in their storm, to offer warmth without weight. Now let's flip the script. What happens when communication turns to conflict? Disagreements will happen. Over money, over lifestyle, over how involved you should be in their lives. In those moments, remember this: your silence can be stronger than shouting. Your pause can be more powerful than persuasion. And your love, quiet, steady, and patient, is often the thing they remember most. If you're still able to talk with your children honestly, without bitterness, without blame, you are doing something rare and admirable. You've nurtured a relationship that grows past childhood, and that takes work. So be proud, because families fall apart over words, but they also heal through words. If your voice still brings peace into your home even when it disagrees, that's legacy. That's wisdom. And that's what keeps generations together. Coming up next, we'll look at another form of legacy: the presence of your spouse or life partner, and why companionship in older age offers more than just convenience. It offers meaning, memory, and quiet strength. Let's keep going. Your spouse is still with you. The quiet strength of enduring companionship. After 70, there's something unspoken that happens when two people grow old together. It's in the shared glances that no longer need words. The quiet comfort of knowing what the other person wants before they ask. The deep history of both joy and pain that lives in every meal shared every evening, walk every quiet morning. If you are over 70 and your spouse is still beside you physically, emotionally, spiritually, you possess something rare in today's world. Not just a long relationship, but a partnership that has stood the test of time. And in this chapter, we're going to explore why that kind of companionship is one of the greatest health advantages in old age, and how to keep it strong even when time and tension threaten to wear it down. Let's start with a simple truth. According to Harvard Health, older adults who are in long-term healthy marriages have lower risks of depression, cognitive decline, and even heart disease. The key word there: healthy. Because not all long marriages are happy. Not all companionships bring peace. But when they do, when that relationship brings you stability, laughter, mutual respect, and shared purpose, it becomes a protective force that medicine can't replicate. Let me tell you a story. Frank and Mary married 52 years live in a small town in Illinois. They've raised kids, buried parents, fought about money, grieved the loss of a son, and rebuilt trust more than once. I visited them during a community outreach for seniors. And what struck me most wasn't how in sync they were. It was how kind they were. Frank helped Mary zip up her coat. Mary reminded Frank to take his pills, but with a gentle hand on his shoulder, not a scolding word. Being together this long, Frank told me, isn't about agreeing on everything. It's about never giving up on each other's value. That's the heart of it. In older age, love becomes less about excitement and more about presence. It's about knowing someone's there, especially when the rest of the world feels like it's moving too fast or falling apart. But let's be honest, even long-term couples can struggle after 70. Health challenges arise. One partner becomes a caregiver. Intimacy shifts. Resentments from decades past can surface in unexpected ways. If your spouse is still with you, here's what matters most now. Don't take each other for granted. Appreciate the small things like a shared breakfast or an inside joke. Speak kindly even when you're tired. And create space for your partner to be their own person, not just an extension of you. That last part is critical, because many older couples fall into patterns of codependence or emotional distance. They either rely too much on each other or drift apart entirely. There is a middle ground. It's called interdependence. It means supporting each other while still growing individually. It means asking, "What do you need today?" instead of assuming. And it means choosing again and again to walk alongside one another even as your pace changes. What if your marriage has been rocky? It's never too late to soften, to apologize, to change routines that aren't working. Or to say out loud, I want us to enjoy these years, not just survive them. Marriage counseling isn't just for the young. Many older couples benefit from third-party guidance. Even 1 or 2 sessions with a senior-focused therapist can make a difference. What if you're not with your original spouse? Late-life relationships are more common than ever. Widows and widowers finding love again. Divorced seniors seeking companionship. Neighbors becoming partners. These relationships often begin with practicality, shared housing, health support, but they grow into something more. Still, they come with challenges: blended families, different habits, unequal financial contributions, and sometimes a lack of deep emotional foundation compared to decades-long marriages. But that doesn't mean they aren't meaningful. What matters is mutual respect, clear expectations, and shared values. As one widower told me after remarrying at 78, it's not about replacing love, it's about continuing to give and receive it. That's powerful. If your partner is still present, whether from a 50-year marriage or a 5-year companionship, nurture it. Here are a few ways: schedule weekly US time. No errands, no TV. Just talk or take a walk. Revisit old memories together. Look through photos. Tell your story. Share one gratitude each day. I appreciate you for goes a long way. Talk openly about fears, hopes, and what you want your final years together to look like. Most importantly, laugh together. Aging comes with grief, but humor keeps the heart light. And couples who laugh together age better physically and emotionally. Now, if your spouse has passed or you're alone, please don't skip this section. Because companionship doesn't only come from marriage, it comes from friends, neighbors, community, faith groups, and yes, even pets. Loneliness is one of the most dangerous health risks after 70, but you don't have to face it alone. Senior Planet, AARP, and local community centers offer classes, volunteer opportunities, and support groups for older adults. You can still build connection even now, because no matter how old you are, we are wired to love and be loved. If your spouse is still with you, take a moment today to say, "Thank you. I'm glad we're still here." Together, that quiet strength you share, it's one of the rarest treasures of old age. Coming up next, we'll explore something that keeps your mind alive and your spirit young: the joy of learning. Because staying curious after 70 isn't just possible, it's essential. Let's keep going. You're still learning and adapting. How curiosity protects the aging mind. Think back to the last time you learned something new. Maybe it was using your smartphone to send a photo. Maybe it was following a YouTube video on how to fix a lamp. Maybe it was discovering a new fact that surprised you. If you're in your 70s or 80s and you're still curious, still willing to explore, ask questions, or adapt to a changing world, you are doing something that scientists and doctors say is one of the best things you can do for your brain. You are keeping it young. Contrary to popular belief, learning is not reserved for the young. In fact, research from the National Institute on Aging shows that continued learning into older age promotes neuroplasticity. That's the brain's ability to form new connections and protect itself from decline. Translation: if you keep learning, you can stay sharp, sometimes even sharper than someone half your age who's stuck in routine. But it's not just about crossword puzzles or trivia, it's about engagement, being open to new information, trying something unfamiliar, allowing yourself to be a beginner again even if it feels awkward at first. Let me introduce you to Harold. He's 83, retired military, used to say, "I don't do computers." Then his granddaughter sent him a link to her wedding live stream during COVID. He didn't want to miss it, so he asked for help. He learned how to use a tablet, then how to email, then how to video chat. Now he plays virtual chess with a neighbor's son in another state. It was hard, he told me, but it made me feel alive again. That's the power of staying curious. Now let's look at what kind of learning helps most after 70. The Cleveland Clinic recommends what they call active learning. This means not just reading passively, but engaging with the material. For example, watch a documentary and then discuss it with a friend, take an online course, and complete a quiz. Learn a new skill like knitting, gardening, or even a new language. Try to memorize a poem or song lyrics and recite them later. This kind of learning stimulates more regions of your brain than simply watching TV or listening to music in the background. And here's what's fascinating: older adults who continue learning report higher levels of self-confidence, emotional resilience, and even improved sleep. Because when your brain feels engaged, your body follows. Now let's talk about technology. Yes, it can feel intimidating, but you don't have to master it all. You just need to learn what serves you. Do you want to video call your grandkids? Order groceries online. Read the news from your favorite site. Get medication reminders from your phone. There are free classes through local libraries, senior centers, and websites like Senior Planet that teach tech in a patient, senior-friendly way. And every time you learn something new, no matter how small, you remind yourself, I am still growing. I am still capable. I am still me. What if you've never liked studying? That's okay. Learning doesn't mean sitting in a classroom. It can mean exploring a new walking path, reading a historical novel, listening to a podcast about health or history, asking a grandchild to teach you their favorite game or app. Every time you expose your mind to something unfamiliar, you stretch your brain and protect it. And if you're feeling bored or stuck, that's not a personality flaw. It's a sign your brain is hungry for stimulation. One of my patients, Dolores, told me she started learning to paint at age 76. Not to sell anything, not to be great at it, but just to feel color again. She said it woke something up inside her she hadn't felt in decades. That's what learning can do. It brings you back to life. And the beauty of learning in your later years is this: there's no pressure, no grades, no deadlines, just joy, just exploration, just the pleasure of doing something because you want to. And that attitude of curiosity, it doesn't just protect your brain, it makes you more flexible emotionally, more adaptable to life's challenges, more patient with others. It keeps you relevant. Because the world is changing fast, and older adults who can adapt even in small ways are less likely to feel left behind. They're more likely to feel confident, connected, and calm in the face of uncertainty. So if you are still asking questions, trying new things, or seeking to understand more about yourself or the world, celebrate that. Because lifelong learning isn't a hobby, it's a lifeline. And if you're not sure where to begin, start simple. Ask yourself, what have I always been curious about? What have I been afraid to try but still think about? Who could I learn something from this month? It could be your neighbor, your grandchild, a stranger on a podcast. The learning is out there, and it's waiting for you. You still have hobbies. Why playfulness and passion matter more than ever. After 70, there's a phrase I often hear from older adults, usually said with a bit of resignation: I just don't know what to do with myself anymore. It's usually followed by silence, or a sigh, or maybe the mention of watching TV just to pass the time. But let me ask you something. When was the last time you played not as a child, not with your grandchildren, but you? When was the last time you did something just because you loved it, because it lit up your spirit, because it gave your hands purpose and your heart joy? If you're in your 70s or 80s and still have hobbies, still engage in activities that excite or soothe you, you are not just keeping busy. You are keeping your spirit strong. And that matters more than most people realize. According to a major study by the National Institute on Aging Older Adults who engage in hobbies everything from gardening and painting to singing, playing cards, or woodworking show lower rates of depression, better physical health, and even longer life expectancy. Why? Because hobbies aren't just distractions, they're expressions. They help you process emotions, they give structure to your days, they offer purpose, especially after retirement or the loss of a spouse or role. Let me share a story. Roger, age 79, started building birdhouses after his wife passed. At first, it was a way to stay busy, then it became a routine, then a passion. Now he donates them to local schools and churches. He told me, "When I'm cutting and sanding, I'm not sad. I'm building something, creating, and when I see the birds use them, it feels like I still have something to offer." That's the power of a hobby. It takes you from passive to active, from stuck to flowing, from invisible to meaningful. And the best part, you don't have to be good at it. You don't need talent. You don't need an audience. You just need willingness. Because hobbies aren't about outcome, they're about presence. And presence, especially in old age, is a gift. So what counts as a hobby more than you think? Gardening, knitting, playing an instrument, volunteering, writing, poetry or memoirs, fishing, photography, cooking, restoring old furniture, learning a new board game, joining a choir or dance group, building model trains, genealogy research, playing puzzles or games, storytelling with grandchildren. If it gives you pleasure, if it draws you in, if it helps time pass without stress, it's a hobby. Now let's address something important. Many older adults give up their hobbies because they feel guilty. They say, "I should be helping with the grandkids. I don't want to spend money on art supplies. I'm too old to be doing silly things." But here's the truth. You're never too old to play. In fact, the older you get, the more important play becomes. Play keeps your brain agile, your emotions stable, your body moving. According to Harvard Health, engaging in playful activities reduces cortisol. The stress hormone improves memory and enhances immune function. And more than that, it gives you a reason to get out of bed. That may sound simple, but for many older adults, it's life-saving. Because boredom for seniors isn't just unpleasant, it's dangerous. It can lead to depression, isolation, cognitive decline, and even physical health issues. But when you have a reason to look forward to something, even a little thing, everything changes. Your posture improves, your energy lifts, your mind lights up. So if you already have hobbies, keep them. Guard them like medicine. Make time for them like you would a doctor's appointment. If you don't, start small. Ask yourself, what did I love as a child? What have I always said I'd try someday? What do I enjoy watching others do? Then try it. Try without pressure, without a timeline, without comparison. You don't need to sell it, perfect it, or show it off. Just enjoy it. And if your hands hurt, find adaptive tools. If your eyes aren't what they used to be, try audio or tactile versions. Senior centers, libraries, and online groups have incredible resources for hobbyists of all levels and abilities. And if you've lost interest in everything, that could be a sign of depression, not age. Talk to someone, a doctor, a friend, a faith leader, because passion can come back. But sometimes you need help finding the spark again. Let me end with this. There's an old saying, we don't stop playing because we grow old. We grow old because we stop playing. So play like it matters. Because it does. You don't compare yourself to others, the grace of letting go in your 70s and beyond. When you reach your 70s, something profound begins to happen if you allow it. The world quiets. Not the external world necessarily, it's still noisy and fast. But your world, your inner world, grows calmer. You stop chasing. You stop proving. You stop caring so much about who's ahead, who's richer, who looks younger, or who got more attention at the family gathering. And if you've reached that state, if you can live your days without measuring yourself against others, you are living with a kind of wisdom many people never find. You've found peace. You've stepped off the treadmill of comparison, and in doing so, you've made space for joy, self-respect, and freedom. That's not easy to do, because for most of our lives, we're taught to compare. It starts in childhood grades, clothes, popularity, then careers, houses, retirement savings, grandchildren's achievements. Even in old age, it creeps in. She's more active than me. He looks better for his age. They get more visits from their kids. But here's the truth. Comparison is the enemy of peace. It drains gratitude. It poisons relationships, and it blinds you to your own blessings. That's why if you've let go of it, you're not just aging well. You're aging gracefully. You've learned that self-worth isn't something earned through achievement. It's something recognized through reflection. Let me share a story. Clara, age 82, lives in a senior apartment complex. Her neighbor Sharon has a bigger family, more visitors, and seems to be doing better. At first, Clara admitted she felt a pang of jealousy. Then one day, Sharon told her, "I envy you. You have peace. Your room is quiet. You always smile. I'm exhausted keeping up appearances." That changed everything. Clara said, "I realized we all carry invisible weights, and when I stopped comparing, I could finally enjoy my life on my terms." That's the wisdom of age. You start to see that everyone is fighting their own battles. Everyone is aging in their own way, and no one's path needs to look like yours. When you stop comparing, you enjoy your meals more. You rest more deeply. You appreciate your body for what it can still do, not what it used to. You find beauty in simplicity, in a walk, a kind word, a sunset from your porch, and you become more generous with others. Because envy shrinks the heart, but peace expands it. How do you reach this point, especially if comparison still lingers? Here are a few practices drawn from research by the National Council on Aging and the Cleveland Clinic. 1. Practice gratitude daily. Each morning or evening, write down 3 things you're grateful for. They can be small, warm slippers, a call from your niece, a favorite song. This shifts your focus from what you lack to what you have. 2. Limit social media. If you use platforms like Facebook, take breaks. Seeing curated versions of other people's lives can fuel false comparison. Remember, people post their highlights, not their hardships. 3. Spend time with people who uplift, not impress. Choose companions who make you feel seen, heard, and appreciated, not those who subtly compete or compare. 4. Speak kindly to yourself. When you catch yourself thinking, "I should look better," or "I'm behind," gently redirect. Say, "I'm doing the best I can," and that is enough. 5. Celebrate others without diminishing yourself. You could be happy for someone else's health or success without feeling less than. Their light doesn't dim yours, and if you feel bitter if letting go feels impossible, that's okay. Bitterness is often unprocessed grief, grief over missed opportunities, over what could have been, over the body that's changed, the relationships that faded, the time that passed too quickly. But even grief, when acknowledged, can soften into acceptance. You don't have to move on. You just have to make peace with where you are. And that peace, that's what makes you beautiful. Not your achievements, not your wardrobe, not your status or titles. Your presence is what people remember. Your calm energy, your warm eyes, your steady hand. Your ability to say, "I'm happy for you," and mean it. Letting go of comparison also deepens your connection with younger generations. Your grandchildren don't need a perfect role model. They need an authentic one. Someone who shows them that aging doesn't have to be bitter or frantic. It can be joyful, grounded, full of quiet strength. And by modeling that, you become a guidepost, not just a grandparent. So if you're no longer chasing the approval of others, if you've stopped measuring your worth by someone else's yardstick, if you can sit in your favorite chair, breathe deeply, and feel content, you are a rare gem indeed. You've discovered one of the greatest secrets of aging. Letting go isn't loss, it's liberation. Coming up next, we'll tie everything together with a reflection on what these 8 rare abilities mean for your future, your family, and your legacy. Stay with me. Final reflection. You are a rare gem. The power of aging with grace, strength, and purpose. Let's pause for a moment. You've just taken a long, thoughtful journey through 8 signs of extraordinary strength after 70. Each chapter has offered more than just advice. It's been a mirror, a reflection of everything you've gained through living, enduring, growing, and adapting. And if you've seen yourself in these stories, if even half of these qualities are still alive in you, you're not just surviving, you're thriving. You are, in every sense of the word, a rare gem. Not because you're perfect, not because you figured it all out, but because in a world that often overlooks older adults, you've held on to what truly matters. Let's revisit what that means. You can still take care of yourself physically day by day. You've protected your dignity, your mobility, and your right to live on your own terms. You can still think clearly. You see through deception, process complex emotions, and maintain mental sharpness that anchors your entire life. You've maintained your financial independence, not just to pay bills, but to live with self-respect, make your own choices, and not feel like a burden. You can still communicate with your children, sometimes even across chasms of misunderstanding. You've learned to listen more, talk less, and keep love at the center of your words. Your spouse or companion is still with you, maybe the one you've shared decades with, or someone new. You understand what it means to love through illness, through change, through loss, and still show up with kindness. You're still curious, still learning, still proving that the mind doesn't expire, it evolves. You have hobbies, passions, things you look forward to not because you have to, but because they light you up inside. And most of all, you've let go of comparison. You're no longer trying to keep up with anyone. You're living finally for you. That's not luck, that's wisdom, that's strength, that's legacy. But maybe you're reading this and thinking, I'm not there yet. I've lost some of those things. I've made mistakes. That's okay. Because aging well isn't about having everything. It's about returning to what matters. It's about choosing again and again to show up, to try to grow. You can start rebuilding any of these 8 pillars today. You can move your body gently. You can challenge your brain with a puzzle or a new idea. You can pick up a paintbrush or write the first paragraph of your memoir. You can call someone you love and say, let's start over. You can sit quietly with yourself and whisper, I forgive you. We're still going. This isn't the end of the road. This is your golden era. You've earned the right to enjoy it, to walk with your head high, to say what you need, to make choices not from fear, but from wisdom. And yes, you still have a role to play. You're a mentor, a memory keeper, a gentle challenger of what's broken in the world, a model of what's possible when you choose not just to live longer, but to live better. You are a living library, a well of stories, of insight, of quiet resilience. And someone, your child, your neighbor, your community is watching you, learning from you, hoping to grow into the kind of elder you are becoming. So please don't shrink. Don't disappear. Don't apologize for your age, your wrinkles, your slower pace. Wear them like medals, because every wrinkle tells a story. Every gray hair is a thread in the larger tapestry of a life well lived. Every step, even if shaky, is still forward. You are a gift. And if you've made it this far in life and in this conversation, let me say it plainly, I'm proud of you. And I want you to keep going. Keep learning. Keep loving. Keep laughing. Keep leading. And if this message has spoken to you, if it's reminded you of your worth, your strength, your beauty, please do one more thing. Like this video. Share it with someone who needs it. Subscribe to this channel for weekly reminders that aging isn't a decline. It's a rise. A rise into wisdom, into meaning, into freedom. Let's end with this. You may be 70. You may be 80. But if you can still do these 8 things or even strive toward them, you are a rare gem. And your best days, they may still be ahead of you. Thank you for spending this time with me. And until we meet again, take care of your body. Honor your mind. Protect your heart. And never forget you're not done yet. You're just getting started.